sign the contract. How come you didn't need to first, because when I gave you this document, you immediately recognized it and you admitted that you haven't signed it. Why did you say, give me 1 week to go and study and be sure I'm the one who signed it? You immediately considered you're the one who signed it. When I gave it to Mr. Misereko, of course he first played around until he admitted he's seeing this document for the first time. He didn't say give me a week. So why do you say you want, I don't know, a whole week to determine whether you followed procurement guidelines? And if you signed this alone, your corporate secretary, who was meant to sign this with you, is seeing this for the first time. And yet these people have been paid all this while money from Uganda Airlines, 13 million shillings per month.
Chair, I think there is one thing we need to understand. Now, I thought the gist of the matter of contracting this airline brokers was to market the airline. And you know, this committee works on behalf of the main committee, which is plenary. And now we have seen what is your Spy Uganda, which is being given 3 million per month, and was paid
13 million per month.
13 million per month, and even paid affluent is only concentrating on how weak and stupid this committee is. That the marketing of your airline is supposed to be.
Maybe just hold on. Let's first speak from colleagues, then you can respond at once that you will write to them responding.
So, thank you, Chair. In my appreciation of Jannifer's answer, you know she's a lady of few words, and I think we should speak and she says yes or no. As a procedure way. The way I'm understanding her, she claims to have a very good spirit for the airline, and wakes up one day and there's a need for marketing and publicity. She chooses a company and comes up with a contract. The question we have, if a contract affects, in terms of payment, the resources of the airline or public resources, there's a requirement to follow public procurement guidelines. If the payment is coming from your salary as part of your saving, among others, then it is as safe as it is. You need to clarify, you are paying this provider from which resources. Secondly, in your submission, you say that particular document the chair was talking about was brought to your office and taken down. My first question is, who amongst these people brought that contract to your office and had to take it to the corporation secretary? I want to understand some management issues here, because it is on record you say it was brought to your office and taken down. We don't want the corporation secretary and another officer to hide when actually you all agreed as a team. And three, brief this committee before coming up with these particular companies and this particular contract. Did you discuss it as an airline? Were there some meetings, be it procurement, be it managerial, be it administrative? We don't want the corporation secretary, who is a very senior lawyer, to escape it just by failing to sign when actually he attended a meeting and consented and maybe might have misled you. We need to appreciate those details, how you came up with this. Beyond what they are doing, whether they are managing the committee or not, you already told us this is a gift from you. But we only want to understand how we can update it in terms of the law and procedure. Did you sit as management? Did you sit as a committee? Are they just denying you in the face of the committee? Or actually it is only you with knowledge of this particular contract?
Yes, Chair.
Yes, Honorable Hashim.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Chair, I'm seeing that Jannifer is running the organization for Uganda Airlines like her personal home, not even business, but home. You see? Because one thing, I think ordinarily a contract should come from the secretary, the organization secretary's office. He's the one to draft any contract for the organization. Now I am surprised that the company secretary is owning that contract. Moreover, a contract which has been running for a long period of time now. And moreover, payments have been made to on the contract. So I am really disturbed to hear that there is a contract running for the organization without the input of the company secretary, who is supposed to ordinarily draft a contract himself for the organization, for the CEO to sign. That is one thing. this company secretary should never be left out of this unless he can explain to us in detail that there are contracts that run in that organization without his input. That is one thing. Another thing, I want the finance officer for them to come in, because how can Jannifer pay over 100 million shillings to some individuals without the knowledge of the internal auditor and the finance officer? How does she pick money from the organization's account to pay those people if this money is coming from the organization? So, Chair, these people should not come here to play around with us. They are using us fine, but they will never play around with us again. Because Jannifer herself, to pay all that magnitude of amount to a contract without the finance officer knowing, and the internal auditor, and the company secretary, I don't understand that.
Okay.
Then, Chair,
If you find a bit,
yes,
we are
Chair, we want to know where this money she's paying these people are coming from. Is it coming from the organization's money, which is government's money? First of all, we, the parliament, we are the ones who appropriate money to that organization called the Uganda Airlines. We appropriate the money. So we cannot continue appropriating money to be used to abuse us, who are then giving you the money. And I want to tell her that we are very responsible people, we are family people, and we are elected by people of Uganda. That's why we are here. People, you can look at us members of parliament as if we are useless, as you normally say, and how those people abuse us. But I want to tell Jannifer, none of us here, including the chair that you are talking about, could ask you for a single coin. And you are seeing us here, we are not looking very ugly. We are not. We are not dirty. We are very smart and clean. Are we not? Not from your money, I'm telling you. And we shall never get money from you. We shall never. But we shall come up with our report based on the findings we are getting through these sessions. We shall never be influenced by it. Even if you give us 20 billion, I have never talked with the chair about all this. None of us will accept that money. I want to assure all of you here that if you think that you will come with the money to every of our members here, just take back your money, because your money will never help you. I thank you, Chair.
Okay, Honorable Roland.
Thank you, Chairman. First of all, this is a unique situation. I think this is the only agency in Uganda that pays bloggers, taxpayers' money. They are unique in that sense. But most importantly, actually, I worked with Shakila in the Uganda Road Fund, and she was the communications officer. I don't know, what do you do in Uganda Airlines if you can't do this work? Because, I mean, this is the work, the public relations management is supposed to be done. I don't know, is there anyone above you? I don't know, you are the one in charge. So if you can't do the work, why are you guys being paid? That's number one. Number two, when we were here on Tuesday, that's why we asked for all the CVs of these people. I would suppose or imagine that the director of finance is a qualified accountant. Do you have, are you qualified? Do you have a certification, CPA, SCCA? It's a yes or no?
I have both.
Now, if you have both and you're paying such kind of money, we are going to take you to the regulator.
Yes.
Because you cannot abet fraud every time, and we come here and we write reports and they end nowhere. For me, I think, Chair, we should go an extra mile to ensure that accountants in Uganda conform to the ethical standards as accountants. Whether it's a lawyer, when you're a lawyer, we take you to the Uganda Law Society, the Law Council. If you are an accountant, we take you to ISPA for specifically for punishment. Because I think if we continue with this kind of operation as a committee, as parliament, because people out there look at us as parliament as their only savior. Because the agencies have decided to plunder the country and in our faces. So, Chair, one of the recommendations that we are going to make is to ensure that the internal auditor is taken to the Institute of Internal Auditors for punishment. The Director of Finance and his team, I think he has so many others below him, should be taken to ISPAL, and the legal guy should be taken to the Law Council for possible punishment and prosecution action. Whenever we are here and we are only looking at the accounting officer, we always sometimes miss a point because these guys are also qualified. And to me, I think if they need to bring their CVs, chairman, their CVs should be submitted. I inquired of the financial statements. I don't know if they have submitted them to you, because we need to understand those figures and understand how the money has been stolen so that we come up with a comprehensive report. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, maybe just before, the public relations person, Shakira, you know it's Shakira? Shakira. Okay, so ideally, the work that these bloggers were hired to do is work you are paid to do as the public relations person of Uganda Airlines. One, do you know about this engagement? Because, okay, sometimes as PR person you would perhaps say, I am suggesting we hire this group or we hire these people to enhance our PR. Did you second these people to your CEO? Do you know about this contract?
I know it. I found it in place. I had just joined. I joined. My date of joining was supposed to be November 1st, but I joined earlier due to urgency.
November which year?
I joined October, the last week.
October 2021.
Yes.
Okay, this contract was signed December 2021. So you were there.
What I know,
Specifically on 24th December 2021.
what I know, I found it there, but I've never looked at the specifics of the contract because I was not a contract manager, and it was even at the time I joined, the PR department had just been created by the board. Even when you look at the original organogram, it is not there. So when I joined, I think the process of requisition had already started, and maybe it had ended, and that was originated from commercial.
Okay, so this Andrew Ruberman plus his spy, Uganda, whatever it is, ideally is supposed to report to you. Do you supervise it, or does the CEO supervise him alone herself?
Since I had joined and they had already started doing some work for the airline, I used to provide them information, not write about, because
Do you supervise them? Are they answerable? Because I would think they should fall under your notice.
Yeah, this answer, of course, will lead to that, because I'm supposed to give them information to write or put on their blogs or websites, something like that. So ideally, I was supposed to supervise them, but since they were under commercial department, they were not directly under me. So, but I used to provide them information.
So you're saying commercial
And
is
even
the
the
one that was
reports
supervising?
the reports that were supposed to be submitted to me, they were not submitted to me, because I was not the contract manager.
Okay, just a second. The commercial director, Regina, is that the name? Is here. So apparently, these people, you have, what engagement do you have with them, or have you had with them? This online man, Andrew Ruba, and his Spy Uganda online blog. You need to project your voice a bit more, yeah?
Thank you, Chair. As commercial, I'm aware of the contract, but as the CEO has indicated, we respond in
Madam, I funny. So, for some reason you find this funny, Regina, yeah? You find this funny. I don't know why. But then this is the same Regina whose job requires a degree among other things. Your highest qualification is senior 6. And you're here laughing as if, you know, this is some kind of joke.
Thank you, Chair.
My question is, have you been supervising these people?
Yes, I have.
You have been supervising them. How regularly?
And I'm not when they submit their work.
Who do you give your report to?
I report to the CEO.
Come again?
I report to the CEO.
How? How do you normally report to her?
Through email.
So you have emails indicating you communicating to her, appraising them and so forth. And you can avail them. Yes, please?
Yes.
Are you sure those emails are there? Because if they are not there, you say they are not. Because I'm going to ask for them. Are they there?
Yes.
You're sure? When is the last time you wrote an email to her regarding this online team?
Thank you, Chair. The last time I wrote, because this contract came to a sudden, they were working, then after some time, then it was Friday.
It was signed, the contract was signed in December 24th, 2021. We are in September 2022.
Thank you, Chair. The rest will respond in my team.
Mwebumanyiire ndowooza muwulira ebiri mu paalamenti.
I don't know if when we were starting, we informed this committee about the standing committee, the accountability committee. And it is very sad when the chair or the member poses a question and you repeat as if you have come the rest of the time. Chair, that being the case, I want you once again to ask that lady the question. Should she feel she doesn't want to respond to us, we shall tell you how to respond.
You know, Chair, I've been insisting on citing the powers of this committee. That the witnesses must know that they are facing the High Court for purposes of investigation and interrogation. She's a
Honorable Muwada ayagala siba muntu.
Or whatever title you have, but it's commercial. We are told by the time she came in office, you were the one handling this particular online sites. And the question at table is, have those online would-be bloggers been reporting to you? And you are saying yes. Then you say you report to the CEO. The question is, do you have proof of that reporting, or you go for a family meeting?
Thank you, Chair. It's proof, and as we, this information, we haven't been requested to submit the same in this report. That's why we are requesting to bring a written notification or details of the written reports and everything in the next submission.
So where do you see it at your office? I mean, is your office different from Jannifer's office? In terms of the building, the location?
Chair, can I seek a small clarification?
Just a second.
Chair, I'm still going my point.
Order,
For
please.
clarification.
Just a second. I want to also understand the office issue. So Jannifer sits in a table. Where do you sit?
In Kampala.
Chair, a small clarification from Madam Commercial Director. You have come here, I don't know, this is the third time meeting this committee? Several times. Why do you come in? Because you seem not to be knowing why you came. And that's the basis of why I asked that question yesterday.
And here I have information.
Yeah, I was still submitting before you allowed the clarification from the Honorable Baka.
Yes, sir.
So you sit in Kampala and Jannifer sits in Entebbe. And in your operation as Uganda Airline, you report through an email. Not a formal report, you just send a sort of a lovely email.
Now what I mean, when you're reporting on emails,
So can you have those reports for the 12 or 9 months? Can you forward to the clerk? Because the emails, you have it at your phone. I've been seeing you WhatsApp. Can you send the same to the clerk?
Chair will prepare and submit in the next
You need to prepare. You have something that you have been sending to the CEO as your supervisor. And you said you've been sending reports on the email. If you said you've been taking physical report, that would be understandable. So those reports on the email, they are there. It is just a matter of sending them to the clerk. So are you willing to send them?
Chair,
Regina, Madam Regina, what's your second name, by the way? Regina Tebasima. You said that when did you last send an email to the CEO giving feedback about these people?
Thank you, Chair. I'll check and respond. We'll send in the next submission.
Chair.
You just said that you do this on a monthly basis. You remember saying that, Regina? Do you remember saying that you have been sending her reports on a monthly basis?
Yeah.
Okay, so in other words, you should have reports of what? Maybe about 10 reports? This has been about 10 months since the signing of this contract. Is that so?
We'll send you the information.
But you see, I also, you know, you guys are infuriating us. Eh? I don't know what you take us for. Questions that should be plain, we shall send you a report. And which we have not asked you for a report. We invited you here. And any document that we require, we shall tell you, bring that document. So you're not the one to tell us what documents we want, because you might bring irrelevant documents. So we can't ask you a question and then you say, we shall bring you a report. But what do you take us for?
Chair, just a minute.
Chair, I had a supplementary question. One, that communication bit and public relations, does it fall under commercial department?
That one, the HR is in position to respond to that. The HR should be in position to respond to that.
No. I'm asking you because you are supervising. I'm asking you because you are the one supervising that contract, right? And many others which maybe we don't know about. I'm asking you a simple question. Does it fall under commercial department?
Thank you, Chair. By the time that contract was signed, the PR was not around, as she has stated.
No, she was there. She came in October. That contract was signed in December. So that's a lie. Continue.
We'll respond to you in writing.
I'll respond to you in writing. We shall respond to you in writing. We shall respond to you in writing.
I'm sure you are, since you are supervising that contract, you know the contents of the contract, right? Did you also sign on their contract?
The contract is in as per the contract it was in that contract it was.
No, I'm say yes or no.
May I signed on the email?
You signed on what? Okay. So, if you know the contents of the contract, does the contract, does the work of the people whom we contracted, does it include going person on other people which only talks about the airline, handling the airline business?
It only talks about handling.
So in those reports that you have been receiving, are they related only to the airline?
Yes, the reports that we receiving are related to advertising the airline.
So what experience do you have in public relations?
As I indicated by that time, there was no PR.
But when she came, okay.
We were trying to reduce negative publicity.
So when she came, why did you give her the work to continue handling that? Because she came in October, and the contract was signed in the CEO was saying that maybe okay, no, not the CEO. You are the communication director. What is your role? Corporate affairs and PR management. So when she came in October, and the contract was signed in December, why didn't you give her that work to do, supervise in her docket as the manager?
Thank you, Chair. On that answer, I will direct it to the CEO.
Mr. Chairman.
Honorable Chair.
You know,
Mr. Chairman.
The CEO,
there's a legal maxim, a principle in law. You don't delegate upwards. Yeah, delegation normally happens downwards. I'm not asking you to speak, madam. I'm just teaching you some law. You don't delegate upwards, so you cannot assign your CEO to respond on your behalf. Okay, yes, Honorable Malimwezo. After him, Honorable Itumbo.
I want to thank you for your thorough investigation into this matter. At first I was sitting there, but I got closer to look at this very arrogant lady, failing even to respond to your well-researched questions. Then later, when you began questioning her, I said, let me also come closer to her. These people are so arrogant, and I think they don't know that this committee has powers equal to High Court. Mr. Chair, is it true, I'm asking Jannifer, that you actually paid over 150 million to people to abuse this very important committee?
No, the airline contracted Lodger to talk about the airline. What they do individually, we can't control, but we make sure that they do not tarnish people's names, especially if they're attached to the airline.
But Jannifer, part of Lodger is the spy, Uganda,
Yes,
Ugandan law, and the CEO is the one who signed that contract with you. And he has been writing a lot of rubbish.
Sir, I cannot speak for the person because even that contract expired. So whatever they are doing is outside the...
How did it expire? Because you signed it in December 2021, it was supposed to run for a year. Did you terminate it?
No. It started in May, I think. I'll check. That's what I was saying.
In May or April?
I need to bring you the...
But you signed it on December 24th.
Yes.
You see how you're treating yourself? Because you paid upfront and then you backdated the payment.
No. That's what I'm saying. Everything that is being spoken here, I would rather be quiet, sir, and bring it in a...
But you admitted the contract. You want to deny it now?
I did not deny it. Hell no. I did not. I want to say that we will respond to you in writing with how this is about and also give you what they have done for us. I have been very careful for them to attack personalities because the contract is not about personalities. The contract is about the airline. So if the person of the association writes on his own, it is not the airline that has asked him. He's writing outside.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Honorable Malimwezo, were you through with your question?
Yes.
Okay, Honorable Itumbo.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to thank you for your patience. I think when they realize it, you can quite listen and the chair, if I was the chair there, this lady works from Kampala here. The CIDs are here. They should have escorted her to go and give documents from the office. So we don't waste a lot of time. But since you are the chair and you are in charge, I just want to thank you for that patience. Mr. Chairman, the last time I was sitting there, I had two concerns. The first concern, why is this organization not following the procedure? The second concern, why are they not following the law? I remember asking them whether they have a program, but we have gotten an answer that there is a lot of Holy Spirit in
But also, as a Christian myself, I don't allow you to vulgarize the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit is not a thief. So people cannot steal and then they blame the Holy Spirit. No, as a Christian, I reject that. And that's why we are holding individuals responsible, not the Holy Spirit. So you don't steal, do a lot of foolery and thuggery, and then you blame the Holy Spirit. No, that's not acceptable. Please carry on, Honorable Itungo.
Office Chair, but the ministry has something to do with the Holy Spirit. Now, Mr. Chairman, I see a lot of tension. And the witnesses, they think that either we are looking for them as individuals, but I want to tell them that we are doing our work as a committee. So through Mr. Chairman, I'm sure the technical staff have the constitution. I wanted you to read for them Article 164. So that they know that we are doing our work as a committee. We are not against anybody, and the questions we are asking, we are supposed to ask those questions as part. So through Mr. Chairman, can you read for them Article 164 of the Constitution? Then we shall know whether we are doing our work or not. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, as I have been directed, Article 164 of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda of 1995, as amended. Accountability. The permanent secretary or the accounting officer in charge of a ministry or department shall be accountable to Parliament for the funds in that ministry or department. 2. Any person holding a political or public office who directs or concurs in the use of public funds contrary to existing instructions shall be accountable for any loss arising from that use and shall be required to make good the loss even if he or she has ceased to hold that office. 3. Parliament shall monitor all expenditure of public funds. Okay. I think Honorable Zale, then Honorable Nancy, and Honorable Mukwana.
Mr. Chairman, thank you so much. Having read that article, I think what we need now to understand is the people who initiated this contract, whether it has a budget line, the people who initiated this contract, whether it has a budget line, whether it was confirmed by the contracts committee, and Mr. Chairman, the CEO made it very clear, including the Regina, the commercial officer, that they are supervising well the brokers. Just like Honorable Itungo said, our office is just here, in Kampala, Victoria down here. Mr. Chairman, I just want to say that let Regina go and pick those documents for us. And the other issue that I would want to ask is whether you have an appraisal format of appraising these brokers. And lastly, to the CEO, you said you're supervising them very well. Since this exercise started, your people that you are paying have been abusing us, writing stories about us. We want to understand, now that you've been a good supervisor, we want a formal communication that you've ever written to them. I thank you, Chief.
Honorable Nancy.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. One, to Madame Regina. My sister, I am requesting you not to take the committee of this parliament for granted. My colleagues has been asking you questions. First of all, you started by laughing. 2, you're telling us that you're going to report in writing. If at all you've been sending reports to the CEO and you normal account to her, that report might be on your phone. The technology has helped us. Kindly forward it to our committee clerk. You're the one making the work of the CEO very difficult. And when you come before the committee,
we bother her a lot with so many questions. At the end of the day, Madam Jannifer tend to think Committee of Cosase are witch-hunting her. And yet you, the subordinates, you're the one making our work difficult. She's running the airlines almost alone because you're weak. I'm sorry to say this. And then two, I think the work you're doing by supervising the bloggers, it is not the work that is meant for you. That work should have been done by Madame Shakila, because she's the one in charge of corporate affairs and public relations. That means anything that comes from the public, she has to directly be accountable to the committee and to the public of Uganda. So one, you have to give us that report now, not tomorrow, because you've been sending it. Just forward to Madam Clerk. And then two, the next time you come here, don't take this committee for granted. Whatever we ask you is official. We don't come here to do personal business with you people. If we want to do personal business, we do outside the gate of Parliament. I beg to submit.
Honorable Kuma.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, maybe like every time we go to church, they read the verse and then the preaching. I think one thing that we need to bring up, I think which we need to, is that every time we get to this committee, is to bring the attention of the witnesses, the powers that these committees of Parliament have when they're executing these duties, to remind them that Senor is not doing this as Senor, he's doing it on behalf of the people of Uganda. The Constitution is very clear, the article that you have read. The rules go further in detail. Because I think, because of that ignorance, they think the committee is here to which hand them. It's a responsibility. I can bring to the attention, having been in this committee for some time, because of the power that this committee has, because of the power these committees have, at one time in the 9th Parliament, 9th Parliament, because of the power that we have, we had to pick a prisoner from Luzera to come and appear. Someone who's on remand to come and appear. We had to pick a prisoner from Luzera, take him to the scene of crime in Toronto. No other committee has ever done that, but this committee did it. So when you are coming in here, it's not a job. Maybe they need to be reminded, maybe because they are ignorant of the roles of the committee. You need to know. Because I listening to the witnesses, I couldn't believe. I thought I was in a movie theater. They seemed to be not serious. Like Regina here, the way she responded, the way she was smiling and laughing. It's like the body language here, they can do what they want. That's why the body language is shown. Now, I don't know whether the committee has ever asked, if I got you right, that the commercial manager is an S6 dropout.
Yes, according to the CV she gave us. Not dropout. She finished senior 6, that's the highest qualification. According to the CV she gave us. Those are not my words.
This is not a political office, it's a technical office. So I think at the end of it, in our report, we need all the staff with their qualification. This is a very serious. Yesterday or the other day, the Director of Finance was saying, this is a very sensitive thing. Now, if it's a very sensitive thing, a delicate thing, how can we give someone who's taught in Essex to handle if we can go what they want? So, Chairperson, I want to agree with the colleagues who are saying Victoria House here, it's just across the road here, behind the Parliament House, where our houses are. The police, the CID should escort Regina to go and pick the documents. Go and pick the documents and bring it here. It's now 1:45. They can be delivered here. Two, Chair, the CEO is stating, he said, what was waiting
Sorry,
for Chair, the CEO is telling us that spy something which has been abusing Parliament, abusing the committee. They are doing it on their own. This is a public institution with public resources. We are the ones who appropriate money for you. You cannot continue dealing with it. It's giving public money to an institution that's undermining the institution that give you money. Have you ever written to them that if you continue behaving this way, we shall terminate the contract? Because that's what I expect from you. Because we are doing this on behalf of you and me and our people and the public. So if we are doing that, if you are asking for accountability and you are busy giving the same money we approve here to an institution that is abusing, because what we are talking here has come from the Auditor General. It may be because the Auditor General does his work in closed doors, but for us we have brought it up. It's not our own things. We are relying on what the Auditor General has brought up. So I would want to see that, have you done it? If you have not done it, we'd be happy to see that is done. Because we are working here on behalf of Ugandans, we approve this money, and somebody out there is busy, who is paid by the public money, which we approve. So I would want to hear from the CEO. Thank you, Chairman.
Yes. Okay, Mr. Honorable in the corner, then I'll come to Honorable PD, Honorable Baka, and Honorable Kamba.
Thank you, Chair. For record purposes, I'm called Kama Davis, member of Parliament from Yagabu, and I'm part of this committee. I've been following questions posed to the CEO, Jannifer. But the truth is, God should help Uganda. If you have people like the people I'm seeing here in some organizations or these entities, really, these people need prayer. Because questions have been posed to them, but instead of responding to the questions, they just play hide and seek, beat around the bush, laugh. This committee is supposed to execute its duties. We are here representing millions of people. All eyes are on us to make sure we execute value for money for this country. So please, if a question is posed to you, respond immediately. Say yes or no, not beating around the bush. Thank you.
Honorable PD, Honorable Baka.
Yeah. From the submission, I am realizing that in this particular contract, it was done by Jannifer herself. Chair, when you visit this innocent Regina, who she is, in my view, who want to protect what she doesn't know, you really get to know that the airline is in trouble. But Chair, we asked a question, because this is a contract that was drawing funds from the treasury of Uganda Airlines. And I wanted to have something from the Director of Finance and also the two internal auditors who are here. What are they doing, or what have they been doing on this contract? Do they know or not? When you listen to this, then you get to know that the poor Shakira, she's also just there occupying the office. And I assume many members who are here, they are just there, their offices are being handled by the top people in the airline. They don't know what is taking place. Because if you tell me she's the PR, she doesn't know what is taking place. She's saying it is commercial, and the commercial is talking as if she's talking with the boyfriend. You can really get to know how rotten this airline is. So, Mr. Chairman, I want Jannifer to tell me, what is the role of these other people? The chairperson, the legal, the company secretary, who is made to sign that contract before, or advise in case it is properly done. He doesn't know. He did not sign, but Jannifer signed and the contract started. The PR, she doesn't know. The commercial officer whom they are saying it is under her docket, she's talking like She's submitting in Yege meeting. So really, what are we doing here? Okay, Honorable Baka.
Thank you very much, Chair. Mine is an information to our colleagues. Article 161 of the Constitution of the Constitution, rules of procedure of Parliament have been brought to you about powers, and the Kupa, whom have been with here for some good time, has given you the example of a prisoner, but there are even those who are not prisoners but brought here and taken down. Now let me remind them that during the introduction, members of Parliament introduced themselves, and their staff here will introduce themselves. Among those, representatives of police, CID, and Auditor General. They were not for decoration. You don't need to read police if you want to take you down. We don't need to take you to CPS. We have ours down here. So please don't take it lightly. And this is a free information to Jannifer. Because I'm concerned, you know, as a representative, I get concerned, I don't want to touch it. Now from today, learn it, that the people you are having here are not your friends. They are all complaining that you are doing their work, and they are fearing you, so they are keeping quiet. I'm giving you free information. They are all complaining. Now, whoever is not complaining, raise their hand. Then you ask yes. They know that some of the road is theirs, but because you are the one doing it, you sign a contract alone by the corporation. I've worked in some places. A company secretary is a big person, a record advisor, and you draft a contract, and he sees it here, he said, I need to go and find out, but I did not sign, and you continue. It's very interesting. So when you see them keep quiet, yesterday chair, I posed the question, and some members were wondering why I'm asking you. Yes, they will continue escorting you, seeing you being fired, because you are doing their job. I rest the case.
Yes, Honorable.
Thank you, Chair.
Clarification before my colleagues submit. For my honorable colleague.
And colleagues, we need to finish this issue quickly.
Yes, this is one, Chair.
One or two final ones we need to flash.
Chair, because we want to remove it or put it on record. Did staff, did they complain to Honorable Baka that Jannifer is doing their role?
As the workers representative. Yes, and Chair, quickly before you leave.
No. Honorable Walker.
Chair, thank you very much. Chair, we need your indulgence.
Please go ahead.
We have gone through a situation where we are as if we are forcing these witnesses to give us answers. I wanted to be educated. Under what circumstances are we supposed to get answers from these colleagues using the services of our CID department? Because when the CID is to handle these witnesses, they go and make statements. For us, we are asking for responses. For them, they will ask for statements. That's one. Two, Chair, when it comes to the issue of a contract being signed by the CEO in the process of procurement, that one is a matter that we should be answered by the CEO. Why did she rebound services of the legal advice? When it comes to matters of payment being executed, Chair, I don't want us to look at the CEO alone. The CEO approves payment, the finance administrator processes a payment, the internal auditor satisfies the payment. On the issue of payment, Chair, it's not one person's decision. So if there was payment before a contract is signed, she did not pay single-handedly. She approves the payment, he processes the payment, internal auditor satisfies the payment. I wanted, if the internal doesn't satisfy, then he does either post-audit or pre-audit of this payment process.
So it is very, very important for us to be careful here. When we are saying answer, each of these colleagues should answer in their respective capacities. Yes. Then, before my colleague said, ICPAU can be consulted, Internal Auditors Association can be consulted. Yes, all that one we can recommend. But even before we recommend, the law of natural justice requires that we should hear from you colleagues. Payment can be executed single-handedly. There are controls in every organization. That's where there's head of finance. That's where there's head of audit. And we know that really, if there was a mistake, it was connived by all these leaders. I beg to submit, Chair.
Okay, let me just try and be sure of this. Director of Finance and then the internal auditors, are they both here? Okay, do you know about this particular contractual obligation of Uganda Airlines? Were you involved? Because as Director of Finance, we meant to be releasing the payments and so on.
Thank you, Chairman. My CEO explained that you... Okay, let me explain. I wasn't there. I wasn't there, Chairman.
When did you join?
I came back in April.
April of which year?
April 2021.
April 2021. Okay, and you have been there since? Yeah, because this contract was signed in December 2021. You were a director, commercial, and director of finance.
Okay.
So you don't have been releasing the money?
True. Once a contract is signed, despite the processes that happen, which you are asking for, it becomes a binding contract. So when I returned in April, there was the final payment for that contract, which we executed. But in terms of the contractual obligation, it is binding.
So for you, you don't ask any questions to be sure, you do not do any background checks at all, as the law followed the letter, you just release money? Because you see, for all the money you release, you are accountable. So you can't say, for me, I just release money, I don't ask questions to be sure, because part of your responsibility, Mr. Paul Rajai Senga, is to make sure that the financials of Uganda Airlines are in order, to make sure there are no wastages, there are no leakages, there is no thuggery in Uganda Airlines. So how do you say, for you, once, as long as they have signed, whether they follow the procedures or not, I just release money?
Yeah, let me remind you before he responds. It is this same Paul who raised the bar on the over-invoicing. You remember, Chair? And then the process started, and then they realized that they had to pay 900 million. So he saved that money. So you want to say in this you had no powers to say it?
Chairman, the final payment, the last payment, and the only payment I was involved in was the payment, I think for March and April, the last 2 months. When you check the contract, it specifies that before every month they need to attach a report of the work done. And based on the report of the work done, cleared by the user department, then the payment is made. So that was done, and subsequent to that, nothing has been paid to this contract.
So who paid the first batch?
So the internal auditors, talk to us about this. Are these not issues that you audit and then give advice? Because you're meant to do some, cleaning up to make sure that everything is done the right way. Do you know about this contract?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Honorables. We know about the contract.
Come again?
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, the Honorables. My name is Jannifer, and I'm the internal auditor, Uganda Airlines. I believe within the committee there are fellow accountants, and you know the standard that govern the auditing practice. You know about the threats to auditing, within which are self-review, advocacy, familiar, and others. Yes. As internal auditing, we are an independent objective assurance function, and we can't be part of the process. So we can't do it. Oh, sorry. I was saying as internal audit, we are an independent, objective assurance and advisory function. As such, we can't be part of any management process because we want to keep independence. With regards to this, we can only do post audits, and that is it depends also on the audit plan that has been approved for our use within the financial year. Indoja is one of the cases that one of the contracts that we handled, but we didn't audit it, and we're not party to it.
Why did you audit it?
It wasn't, we haven't done a procurement audit at the time. It wasn't part of our
Clarification, Chair.
Clarification, Chair.
Yeah, clarification, Chair.
Yes, please.
Yeah, I am just thinking by what because I know the internal auditor every quarter produces quarterly internal audit reports. And where you cover all, I don't think it's limited only to one side. You cover all the areas during that quarter. So if you have them in your quarterly audit reports, would you please avail, or before even you avail, tell us that you pick these things up and they're in your report of the quarter or of the year regarding about this matter? Because that's what can only save you from what you're talking about. Because the auditor general would have also looked at them. So did you pick these matters which have been raised in your quarterly reports, the internal audit reports, which you are supposed to present to the audit committee of the audit board, and then to the board, and then of course the auditor general when it comes? Do you have that? And was this matter raised by you?
Thank you, Honorable. Again, I'll re-emphasize that. The internal audit function at Uganda Airlines was instituted beginning May 2021. That was one at the end of the financial year that was audited. So we just made it at the end of the financial year. This particular contract was within the financial year 2021-2022. As internal audits, indeed, we do conduct audits, and Auditor General or any other external auditor can place reliance on our works, and we share this information with them when they come. Yes, indeed, there are reports that we've done, presented to management, identifying weaknesses in controls that management, and we made recommendations for them to improve on the efficiencies. Those reports are there, and they can be submitted and shared with the committee. This particular one, we're not part of it because we can't be party to a process.
I'm saying you can't be part of the process. Okay, your colleague wants to come. Let's pass around his colleague to say something.
Thank you, Chair. One of the problems I have is that I stammer. So I'm requesting that for the record, I am Ronald Ball. I'm an internal auditor.
You're flowing good. Good work. Good work.
Thank you, Chair. I want to bring to the attention of this committee that as an internal audit function, the kind of audit that we do is post-audit. The Institute of Internal Auditors has guided that pre-audit is a management control. And when you look at subsection 2 of section 48 of the Public Finance Management Act, it guides that the role of an internal auditor is to appraise the application and the soundness of accounting, operational and functional controls of a board. That is, so pre-audit is a control. However, the accounting officer has got the prerogative to assign internal audit an activity to advise when it comes to a particular instance. This particular this particular procurement for the lodger, it did not feature in any of our samples. When we do the post-audit that we do, you're still going to sample, and this particular procurement did not feature in any of our samples. Had it featured in our samples?
Can I request for the attention of both Madam Jannifer and Mr. Sereko?
Chairman.
I don't know if the two of you are communicating on WhatsApp. If you need to consult each other, you can let us know. But just a second, I request for your attention. So let's not be on phone as we are going on with the inquiry.
Chairman.
Maybe let the foreman first finish, then
Yes, finished.
Have you?
Yes, finished.
Yeah, I told you I stammer. So
no one has a problem with that.
So at this point in time, if I have not addressed the concern, I am still available. I can still provide that kind of clarity as far as this particular procurement is concerned and the role of internal audit.
Okay, let me, company secretary, let me just speak this to understand the legalese. So, as company secretary, is it true that you always give legal advice before contracts are signed?
Yes, Chairman. First, I contribute to the contracting process through the contracts committee, of which I sit now as a member of the current contracts committee. Then the practice is now when the contract is being prepared by procurement.
Microphone.
When the contract has been prepared by the procurement, by the PDU, procurement department unit, they prepare, they are responsible for preparing the contract documents. Then they bring them to me for quality assurance on the contractual provision and the legal provision before they go to CEO for signature.
Okay, so there you are. They are brought to you. First of all, you participate in the process, give advice, have this clause or remove this one and so on. And then, by your words, you say they first bring to you for your signature and then take to the CEO for her signature. The contract that we are talking about does not have your signature. And you have said you have seen it for the first time, even though they wrote your name, but there's no signature. Would you say this is a legal contract?
Chairman, contracts are signed by the accounting office. My role is to quality assure on the legal aspects.
Okay, now that you didn't do your quality assurance and you didn't even sign, even though your name is here, would you say this was legally proper?
My role is witness.
To witness. Okay, now that you did not witness, would you say this is a legal contract?
That's one explanation, maybe I was not around.
So if you are, just a second, Mr. Visereko. So if you're saying that one of the reasons could be that you were not around, because this is not some kind of
procedure, Chair.
Just a second.
Chair, the witness is on the phone. Madam Jannifer is on the phone.
But Madam Jannifer, I ask that we pay attention. If it's an emergency, you can ask, let me know. We are human beings, yeah? But otherwise, we want you to be present here, because you're the team leader of this team. Mr. Visereko, if a contract does not have your signature as company secretary, regardless of the reason, whether you were away or were on leave or I don't know, whatever the case might be, yeah? Because you said you don't know this contract. When I gave it, you said you've seen it for the first time. You have told us you're supposed to participate in the drafting process, give your legal advice, because whatever is in here is supposed to be legally binding on the company. That's why it's important that your legal advice is given, so that you don't end up having legal problems as an airline, as an entity, yeah? So that did not happen. And then you said that afterwards, they're supposed to bring it to you to sign as a witness and then take to the CEO to sign. Now, they did not bring it to you. You didn't know about this. You see this for the first time. The CEO signed alone. She did this on her own. Would you then say that this contract, as company secretary of Uganda Airlines, would you say this was done in the proper legal way? That this is legal? Switch on the microphone.
Yes, the law gives powers to the accounting officer to sign contracts.
Afterwards?
It can be witnessed by any user department, any user department.
Okay, now that no user department witnessed, yeah? You're the company secretary. So you're saying it can be witnessed by any user department. That did not happen. This contract was signed only by Jannifer Bamuturaki, okay? And then Irumba Andrew of Spy Uganda Online. Is this legal? Switch on the microphone.
Yes, contracts have to be witnessed.
Come again?
Contracts are supposed to be witnessed.
So if they're not witnessed, they're not legal.
No, it is an irregularity.
Okay, it's an irregularity.
Once it is signed by the accounting office.
Okay. At least you quoted that big.
Because they cannot run away from the legality of that contract when it is signed by the accounting officer.
But it's an irregularity, as you have said. Okay, now, what we are going to do, I would like that we flash out one more issue. It's now 1:15. Let's do this. Let's do this. Just a second, at the end, our CID officers will go with Regina, who says that she has correspondences. Yeah? I get the feeling they don't exist. But I want to give you the benefit of doubt. You go with our police officers, because since you're saying they exist, you can't ask for a week or whatever. You just go on your computer, log in, and then you print out. Yeah, so you will go with our officers so that you print out immediately, and they bring them with them. Colleagues, let's flash out one other critical issue. We touched it a little bit yesterday. Mr. Tura Kaisenga Paul, as finance director, you wrote to the board issuing a red flag. No, this will, we have picked what we wanted to pick. We're going to get that information from Regina. You wrote to the board and you were red flagging something to do with these void tickets. And I want to quote something from your report. And you tell me anyway if it is your report, because I didn't get it from you. You talk about a table that shows, different routes and months looked at. And you said a total of 908 passengers with ticket values worth 253,000 US dollars. That's about 982 million Uganda shillings. Were missing in the reported revenues and passenger uplifts. Was this part of the report that you drafted to the board?
Yes, Chairman.
Okay, so explain to us this. What you meant, break it down.
Chairman and honorable members, the report has a breakdown of a number of scenarios. When you check in that report, about 85% of that, which was $181,000 for 645 tickets, was relating to passengers that had flown, but the operation internally had not yet been completed by closing them. So, when someone flies, after getting on the plane, when systems are automated and the flight is closed, every ticket, passengers and revenues update finance. When that is not done, the ticket status keeps open in the system, meaning that such a ticket, such a passenger can come and lose that ticket again. Because when you reach the check-in, it will show that that ticket is not yet utilized. So what happened, 85% of that figure related to tickets that had not yet been closed. Then about another big figure was on some 36,000 relating to tickets that were still showing exchange. So in simple terms, there is about 94% of that figure that is just internal control issues, of which after that report, we did the work internally, the responsible people worked on it, and the status now is different. So of the 908 tickets showing $253,000, today we have about 65 tickets that are not yet fully addressed, amounting $15,000. So what that means at the time of the report, it meant that we had affected passengers, but from the accounting side we were not showing both revenue and passengers flow.
Clarification.
So how who was responsible for making sure that these closures get to happen? Because so here you said of the total figure above, 71.6% relates to open tickets. Immediate manual closure of them is required to close any gaps for possible leakage and proper revenue reporting. Open utilized tickets, if not closed, can be voided, cancelled, or even exchanged, leading to revenue loss. I want to believe this was a fraudulent scheme of sorts, because, okay, we can even say negligence, because if you're supposed to close the ticket and you don't close it, that means somebody else, or that same person gets to use it again without paying, and for that matter, occasionally the financial loss on the airline. Who was responsible for that? Maybe.
Thank you, Chairman. In our practice, the commercial team was assisting in that process.
Commercial team. And at that time, Jannifer Bamuturaki was commercial director, right? Or who was commercial director?
No, it is this time when she was acting CEO.
When she was CEO. Okay, so now as CEO, because you're the overall boss, how is this happening under your watch? So now you're even occupying a bigger position. You're the one superintendent of commercial.
What Paul has not mentioned, which I would like him to mention in the process, is that the closing of flights should happen automatically. In Entebbe, where we have the biggest departures on the network, the systems, our passenger system, which is our TEA, is sitting on the airport system, so they're synchronized. So when the flight departs, just at the stroke of a button, the flights are closed, and the team in revenue accounting, who is the team that is under Paul, are able to reflect that the flights have taken off, and this money is now showing that it is realized. So in this matter that Paul reported, it was from a station which was having integration challenges. So ideally, when a flight takes off, like what happens in Entebbe, the system closes automatically, or where it doesn't close, the operations team close that system. Meaning they go into the system and they start to close one by one. Now, depending on which route this is reported, if let's say it is Juba, you'll have to look at the number of people that have flown. Juba being a high busy route, will probably have in a week maybe about 400. I'm just giving an example. So this manual intervention that commercial is doing means they have to go on the system and start to close one by one. Now, because they are closing one by one, considering they're also taking calls, that process delayed, because they are doing the closure as well as managing their own telephone calls. So what Paul is saying, what has changed now, is that the route that was having these challenges now has a system process happening, and I would like Don to explain to you how that happens. That's why he's able to report that the figure has reduced, that is not showing them where the money is. So the figure has come down from 250 something down to 36,000 because the teams have gone in and closed the tickets, each one of them. So Honorable, I don't know if I've confused you. Don't explain the technical detail if you allow.
Just a second. Regina, you're the head commercial where all this is supposed to be happening. And by the way, yesterday when I asked this, somebody near you there had you saying, I don't even know what I'm talking about, as you were whispering. But that's okay. Now that you are here, you who knows these things and who was in charge, even though you're not qualified for that job, according to your CV. So tell us, because this is under your watch, how does this get to happen under your watch? Because inevitably, you're causing a financial loss to the airline.
Thank you, Chair. I'll begin with apologizing for laughing and making Jannifer annoyed. I didn't intend it. Secondly, correction, I'm just acting director commercial, but once the job is advertised, then they will get the correct person name. Thirdly, usually the system is supposed to have an auto integration.
Baby, how long have you been acting director commercial?
It's coming to a year.
Coming to a year. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Under normal circumstances, as the CEO said, the system is supposed to auto integrate, whereby the reservation system out there is supposed to work hand in hand or to read into the DCS system. The session we are talking about, at the time of this report, it was manual, whereby the systems were not reading each other. And we need to understand that we are using a third party, which is Binata in Dubai. So after saying that, the system was not reading each other, so we had to do everything manually. And as per the report, which first came out and which was submitted, my response I submitted to the board, the report I have here, it indicates that most of 97% of the tickets which were shown as lost revenue, all the revenue is there. And we also need to put into consideration that the revenue accounting team, which is working on these documents or tickets, they do not have ticketing experience. So you need to, first of all, we need to know, first of all, we need to have training throughout. Yes, you cannot, yes. You cannot interpret a ticket when you don't know the ticket details. Yes.
Please carry on.
As per the response I have here, and the letter submitted to the board, I can share it with you, Chair, which shows all the details. Thank you.
Chair, clarification.
Yes, please.
Chair, the first clarification is going to be key. I want her to tell us whether there are no people who have experience in ticketing and why they chose to use those ones without experience. But the other clarification I want to get is from Director Finance. Chair, when this program came, the Director Finance wrote direct to the board. He did not write to the commercial department, which had erred as they want to put it. And he did not write to the supervisor, who is the CEO, that look, there is this program. He wrote directly to the board. Could we tell us why he jumped those two offices and wrote to the board, which takes months without sitting, if the thing was okay?
Okay, and maybe as you answer that, Paul, again from this your report, you said based on the responses from some of the travel agents that voided some tickets, the airline stands limited chances to recover funds from the refundable and voided tickets. The airline will also lose funds from tickets that were exchanged without charging the exchange fees. That worries me. That worries the taxpayer out there. You know that money will not be recovered. So respond to us about that. And also, okay, just take note of that because we want to understand. You have your supervisor, Jannifer Bamuturaki. So were you whistleblowing to the board, or what exactly? Yes, please.
The director so that he responds to us.
Colleagues, it's 1:30.
Yes.
We have plenary at 2. And I must give you about 15 minutes to get set. So keep your questions very short so that we get quick responses and we wrap it up.
Chair, when the director of finance was responding about the airline brokers limited, whichever online, he said they just paid them up to April. Meaning May, June, July, you will have either cancelled their contract or you have to explain to us. And my worry is, if you terminate their contract without following the procedure you did on Abavata, I don't know if the Great Administration will be likely to pay fines. Why have you not paid them for June, May, June, and July, and August? Have you terminated their contract?
Okay. Honorable Wada, 30 seconds.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, three observations. One, Madam Jannifer has not been giving personal answers. From most of our answers have been sent to her on phone. And Chair, I will submit tangible evidence. When I was coming, I requested to play a video. Now, when they were transcribing for me the system here, I realized it was at all time first reading her phone, then giving an answer. And that's why she has been quiet deliberately. And according to the preliminary findings, it is her lawyer furnishing her with the answers on phone, and then she reads. That's why she has made it summarized, but she knows the answer, and she can answer. So I'm praying that for final answers, you don't allow her to look at her phone. Let her answer without looking at her phone, because we are talking about papers and documentary proof we already have, and information in her knowledge. I saw for a second, Chair, when the former chair board was appearing for the committee, he allegedly said that as board chair, he had a constant influence and interference by army generals from Operation Wealth Creation. What Madam Jannifer John record, whether she's not under control and influence of the same generals under Operation Wealth Creation, or not, because they were hiding issues between the charter planes. But when you look at the media, it has been basically State House or OZ among others. This is the national airline. So we want to understand the intricacies. Probably this is deliberate. Is it a matter to do with security or transport? And lastly, Chair, we may need to interest ourselves on the human resource manual. If officers can have personnel underrated in terms of qualification, a long period of time, and even the airline boss herself attributed her positioning to be a gift. We are insisting because these were her words captured by the media. I want her before she goes and without privilege to this committee to substantiate what she meant by a gift in being the head of the airline. So that we appreciate for future use. Otherwise, I submitted the clip to the Secretariat. They have not prayed it, but at least she can acknowledge that she said at one time that her appointment is a gift and should not allow anyone to interrupt her enjoyment of that gift. Let us appreciate what kind of gift is it that involves heading an airline, or if she made something else. Chair, I beg to submit.
Honorable Roland. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I thought that I can say I can take Regina to bring the documents.
No, I said we'll do it at the end.
Okay, thank you. Chair, I get back to the internal audit. Because the questions you raised about those things about the revenue should have been identified by the internal audit in their report. It should not have been the finance man to have discovered. It should have been the internal audit to have discovered. Even now we are gambling with the reconciliation of the figures of the tickets. It should be the internal audit we should have been able to bring up the correct question now, not us gambling with an ethics person, but also the internal auditor. Who's the senior of the other? Who's the director? Because I see two people, they seem to be at the same rank. Who is senior? Who reports to the other? Who reports to the other? We need them to clarify. We need to clarify that, because we are told they are all at the same level. There's no one reporting to the other. Chair, on the serious note, when you are asking questions about the corporation secretary, you are asking the corporation secretary whether he drafted the contract or not. I will give you information. The board had recruited a board secretary to the level of even when they were introduced to the board. But along the way, he was dropped. There was a gentleman called Magino who had been recruited. So the circumstances now under which the new one has come can now explain why he's gambling, why he's not signing the document, why he's not drafting. I'll give you the documentary evidence to that gentleman who was called Magino, who had been recruited, but along the way, the powers that be, I think, and then the gentleman now here comes to take on. So I'm not surprised when we're seeing what we're seeing with the new corporation secretary. Finally, Chair, I don't know, you will beg me if I'm repeating this. On Tuesday, the CEO was saying she would respond in writing to the committee to explain about the 20,750. I don't know whether she has done it, because she said if it's not true, she can refund that money. Has that response been given to you in writing? Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Chair. Mine are very quick ones. One is to submit that the internal audit, I've been in the internal audit for 16 years. The internal audit function, because of independence, does not do pre-auditing. They do post-auditing. But to supplement on what Honorable Pan said earlier, they are supposed to do quarterly reports. And it would be good if we got those reports, quarterly reports. It's also possible that they can rule out, through sampling, they can rule out a certain transaction. So on that one, since they don't do pre-auditing, it is also possible. But these are now matters which have come to your attention. And there could be, because you see, when you're doing risk mapping, before you do an audit, you are supposed to look at susceptibility. Those transactions or accounts which are susceptible to fraud and errors and all that. For example, that issue that has been read out to the finance director, have you picked it because it is an internal issue? Have you picked it? If you have not picked it, we need to know the controls around the whole system in terms of revenue correction, in terms of the systems, how they work. Because an airline, when you go and you are managing an airline, you're going to use manual approach to doing transactions. These things should be automated, automatically, and should be airtight, so that no one can tamper with the system. It should be automatic. Once you have a manual system that, and you're operating an airline, to be clear, I think that's where the biggest problem is. Secondly, to the finance director, someone asked a question, I think you noted it. That write-up you made was the board. I would like to know whether you had exhausted the management level controls, understand what management's view was before writing to the board. Because writing to the board means you are a whistleblower. Now, whistleblowing means that either they are
internal audit writing of the board, not you. Yeah, that's what happens.
Now this is whistleblowing. Because internal audit writing the board is normal and that's not supposed to be. Now when the finance director is out writing to the board, it means it's whistleblowing. Now when you're whistleblowing, it means two things. One, that your supervisor is not cooperating with you, or you're fighting each other, or you don't have formal means of expressing your issues, your disappointments internally at the management level. So that would mean that actually we are losing money, yeah, because that also growing means that it may not necessarily be the only money we are losing. So internal auditors, for you, what are you doing to ensure that Ugandans are not losing money? Thank you, Chair.
Okay, let's get quick responses because it's really getting late.
Yeah, 1 minute. 1 minute.
Let's first get these quick responses. I don't want to be continuing with the committee when Green is supposed to be quick. No, please. Paul, let's be quick on this.
Thank you, Chairman. I will run first. Why direct report? You realize this report was done I think after like 4 weeks after my return. When you check the issues and the allegations that were against us, the management and the board, one of the issues that was there both to me, now they answer the question why me not internal audit, to me as the director of finance, the CEO, the head of the institution, and the board was an issue related to this. Because at the time, there was something that happened stealing the tickets, and we had done our work, we had done the report. It was a disciplinary review at management, but here the thing came up. We even accused the board that they were not being provided with the money. So now, in our case, things to do with revenue integrity and revenue protection are high risk and high alert that require immediate alert to the highest level. But what I did when this came to my attention, I wrote to the CEO and informed her about the issue. It so happened, I have an email, it so happened that we had a committee meeting of the board the next day. So under AOP, not even on a formal report, a formal agenda, I alerted them because this is something that was going to catch up with them, the same way it had caught up with the old one, when they were not even aware. Because we handled it in a slow way, management process, and it ended up consuming them. So when I alerted them without a report, they commissioned me formally to do the work and complete it and forward the report. So in terms of the know, my boss knew before the other ones got to know, but it was a quick process. We couldn't wait for this other process that we took the other time that ended up being problematic. On the conclusion of the report, yes, as the report is, you see a big percentage is internal system processing, which can lead to the other ones if not done. So when we, as of today, some of the few monies may not be corrected because when you charge it, people tell you that, but I refunded maybe before the person traveled, or the ticket was cancelled before the person traveled, so if the person traveled, they are not paying. But however, the risk is now at about 7% of the total amount. Yes, there is some worry, there is a likelihood that some money may not be recovered. But what I also want to tell you, the board has instituted a special audit for this. So this is something that is still being worked on, and I'm sure at an appropriate time, once completed, you will be privy to the final report. The last one was on the blogger. Why have they paid and concluded? From what the chair mentioned, the contract was for 1 year. And in December, it's mentioned that they were paid 8 months. So now we ended it in April to reach the 12 months. So legally, we have the whole contract amount paid for. There's nothing outstanding. Thank you.
Okay, I think there was 1 or 2 questions to Jannifer. I hope you noted that because you phone most of the time.
There was a question on the previous chairman and what he said. I cannot speak for him, Honorable, especially with the comments he made. And so I cannot say to you that yes, it is happening because I didn't know that he was going through that. For me, I don't know it.
It was not really conducted by
I don't even know what it's supposed to do with the airline. So that is his submission, sir, and I have nothing to do with it. Thank you.
Okay, let's do this. So there was that list of the. Oh.
When I said it is a gift, I meant my leadership and management skill is a gift. Honorable members, if it sounded like I meant the job was a gift, I apologize at this point, because that's not what I meant. It was my management and leadership skills. And that's why I said that no one can take that away, because it's my gift, meaning my leadership and management skills. Thank you, Honorable, for giving me the opportunity to explain that.
There was something for internal audit?
Thank you, Chair. Who is the boss? We both report. We are the same level, and we both report to the audit committee. But there was a question which was raised, as in what did we specifically do?
Senior chair, there is supposed to be a director manager. How can now be reporting to all at the same level? Where is what's the problem? Why can't even by just assignments? How can they have either two directors or two managers?
Perhaps what we'll do, maybe as part of our recommendation, because there's a lot of streamlining that is needed for.
And they must tell us why, because it's continuing. You can't wait up the level.
Maybe the CEO should tell, because now the auditors themselves, they can't have the answer, they don't have themselves.
Honorable, indeed, my colleagues are the same, at the same level, but we have been given a mandate by the board to advertise for our internal audit, manager internal audit. So they'll have someone they report to, sir.
When is that being done?
It should be in the coming week. I'll have to check, because there are some jobs that are going out into the papers, and I have to check with Shakira and PR on what has finally been taken through. Thank you.
Chair,
okay.
There's a big managerial problem here. Because they have somebody to report. Who is that? Because beyond them, it's the board or the audit committee of the board. But now who is the other person again? Because what is wrong with assigning? It may not be an appointment. I say, I'm assigning a Okupa, you be caretaking as we wait for a formal. You cannot. Anyway.
Okay, let's do this, colleague supporter to Mr. Serko, did you say you're the one with that list of the clients, the chartered ones? Who has it? Internal audit? Internal audit is not with it?
Chair, my request is you let us comment on what we did or what we've done on revenue loss, because it was a specific request from Honorable. I don't know.
Okay, do so in 1 minute.
Chair, we picked up this matter because it was a high-risk matter, and we did present it to our committee. Our committee escalated it to the main board, and the main board recommended that the internal auditor general does a comprehensive review of this matter. An entry meeting has been held, and the process for this particular review has commenced. Internal Auditor General. That's a government of Uganda chief auditor. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, I was asking, Mr. Secretary, did you say you're the one with that client list, the chartered ones? Okay, because I was going to hand it over to the clerk, but you can hand it over now.
Chairman.
Turn it the other way so that the media doesn't see, since you were very worried about the media.
Chairman, the issue of the 12,000.
Then, I have not gotten that communication. You see, when somebody does not respond, and they say, I will write.
And then of course we get known as she has not responded.
Yeah, because I'm not seeing any of that. You know, for certain, that is clarity. For me, it's admission of guilt. Otherwise, you can say that either I traveled or I did, or I refunded or I did. You know, so for you to say, I am going to respond to you in writing whether I refunded or not, surely. We are not 10-year-olds here. But nonetheless, there has been no writing, just for clarity. I'm going to ask our CID team to go with Regina. Regina, please stand. Go with these people. You have said you have those correspondences regarding this online group. The CID team should be back here at Parliament in not more than an hour from now, if those documents exist. So you get back either with the documents or without them. You know. So please go with her. Because say the office is here in Kampala, which is nearby. Colleagues, it's now 12 minutes to 2. I want to adjourn this meeting. I want to thank the team from Uganda Airlines for coming and for responding, and of course to castigate you who many times will not respond and say, no, I'll not respond to that one, I'll respond in writing. And the written responses never come. Perhaps because they don't exist. Anyway, we are doing this work because we are mandated to do this work. Okay? I've had a lot of nonsense written by the people you guys pay. That we are witch hunting you and so on. Well, even if you are not paying them to write, it's a right, freedom of expression. But we are doing this because we want the taxpayer to have value for money. Yeah? This is not a private company. If it were a private company, I would not care. I would not even be here. You know, it would be the business of whoever the investor is. But the investor here is the taxpayer. And so we must do everything we can to see to it that the taxpayer is getting value for money. And where there are leakages, where there is snaggery, the people are called to order. That's why we are doing this work. And we'll get to the logical end of this matter. So we'll release you for now. I don't know if all the documents have come through. If there are any particular documents, our clerk is going to be in touch that we shall require. And then we shall let you know. Oh, I had asked for the MSN. It was communicated, was it to the PR person? Yeah. For the aircraft, the manufacturer serial numbers. This is for all of them, right? Would I be... Okay, so I see 1977, is that like the year of manufacture?
Yeah, that's the MSN.
That's the MSN?
Yes.
What's that? Explain.
So the package,
Procedure, Chairman. Chairman, I beg your indulgence. Procedure, the CEO should read for record what she have handed to you.
Okay,
mention what they have handed to you.
Honorable Chair, we have handed to you the MSN as you requested for all the aircraft that Uganda Airlines owns. Thank you, Chair. Now my colleague Richard will explain to you the documents.
So Richard, in 2 minutes, Richard is who? What position do you hold?
Thank you, Chair. I'm the manager of engineering and planning at Uganda Airlines. So the documents are handed over to you from the aircraft manufacturer as at the time of delivery of the aircraft to Uganda Airlines. The MSN is the manufacturer serial number. It is a unique number that is assigned to any aircraft. It doesn't change throughout the life of the aircraft.
So when for example, was this bombardiers manufactured?
So, Chair, at the bottom of each page, there is a date when each of those documents were signed.
Okay, so there's 27 March 2019, 23rd Feb 2019, 3rd September 2019, 22nd September 2019. Is that the date of manufacture?
No.
That's the contractual date.
That's the date when the respective authorities for the Bombardier Transport Canada and for the Airbus, the European Aviation Safety Agency, certified that those aircraft, having been manufactured new, with those details, are ready to be exported to Uganda.
So what's the year of manufacture?
The year of manufacture for the Airbus is 2020.
For both of them? Okay.
The year of manufacture for the CRJs is 2018.
For all the four?
For all the four.
You're sure of that?
Yes.
Okay. We will examine this. All right, thank you. We can dismiss you now. Let's just have a quick 2-minute brief for it. 2 minutes, then you go and pray for us and pray for Uganda.
Bannange abampuliriza tugenda kudda mu Luganda version, tugenda kujja nga Honorable Ssenyonyi asummarizing byonna ebibaddewo. Bannange leka tugende wa Bamuturaki. Bannange ngenda kudda mangu, leka ndabe Bamuturaki. Ngenda kujja ndabe Ssenyonyi Bamuturaki, ngenda beera live. Leka eno njijjeko kati abalala munaatandikirako ki ekiddako. Bamuturaki yaddako, Ssenyonyi yaddeko, ndowooza owulira. Kino tuli mu Uganda Airlines.